And we return now to our top story. The man suspected of firing the bullet that killed Charlie Kirk is set to be charged on Tuesday. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is currently being held at Utah County Jail. And sources tell CBS News the suspect's father confronted him to ask if he was the person seen in photos released by the FBI. The father then called a youth pastor who contacted U.S. Marshals. Earlier, Utah's governor urged Americans to see Kirk's death as an inflection point in the country's political discourse.
This is certainly about the tragic death, political assassination of Charlie Kirk. But it is also much bigger than an attack on an individual. It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on the American experiment. It is an attack on our ideals.
And CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd joins us now. Sam, very good to see you here. Now that the suspect is in custody, what are the next steps in an investigation like this?
Well, Nancy, the investigation is ongoing and will not stop until law enforcement officials feel confident that they have explored every lead and every avenue as pertains to whether the suspect was in touch with anyone else about his plans, whether he was in communication with like-minded individuals on social media, on encrypted platforms, and more. And investigators will question his friends and family to ascertain whether there are warning signs that this individual is going down a pathway to violence. The goal here is to understand how this individual went from being what he was to being allegedly an assassin. So this investigation could take time, and there could be additional charges and potentially additional arrests if other individuals knew about Tyler Robinson's, the suspect's plans, and did nothing to stop him.
So, Sam, we've seen several lawmakers now canceling public appearances because of this shooting in the wake of it. What is your assessment now of the threat level against political figures?
Political violence is at an all-time high in this country. That is happening at a time when overall law enforcement resources are incredibly strained. In particular, the resources, for example, that the U.S. Capitol Police have to protect members of Congress in D.C. and that state and local law enforcement have to protect members when they're in their districts. We have to remember that members of Congress don't just go to and from their homes in Washington, D.C. to the Capitol every day. They go back to their districts. They campaign. They have to engage with constituents. And U.S. Capitol Police just does not have enough resources to protect every member of Congress when they're here in Washington on an ongoing basis, nor are state and local authorities set up to provide ongoing protective services and ongoing intelligence and information gathering to try to detect any threats that may materialize. So we are going to need a new paradigm for protecting elected officials while we work to try to tamp down political violence in this country.
So, Sam, also, authorities are saying the suspect acted alone. Given that, how can security agencies monitor for threats like this in the future when you have a lone wolf type of person?
Well, as someone who's worked these kind of cases before, Nancy, I will tell you, trying to find a lone wolf prior to them engaging in an act of violence is trying to find a needle in a haystack, unless, and this is the key point, Nancy, unless the American people start to understand that they each have a role to play in preventing these kinds of atrocities. Each and every American can educate themselves on the signs that an individual may be going down a path to violence. And well before law enforcement even has to become involved, every American can learn who to ask for help, whether a trained professional, a social worker, a mental health professional, a faith leader, to try to find an off-ramp from an individual that otherwise may very quickly have ready access to a weapon and go down a pathway to violence.
Sam Vinograd, thank you for your reporting today and throughout the week.
Thanks, Nancy.